What is up, Taco Tuesday? Welcome on into Let's Bet It. Lauren Jabari here with Jared Smith. That is presented by Superbook Sports. And Jared, before we get into anything, the final horn sounded, and we saw one of the biggest upsets in World Cup history where Saudi Arabia kicked Argentina's butt in Group C. What did we just witness?
Yeah, I don't know if I would call it kicking their butts, but that was some upset. Argentina was up 1-0. They did. The expected goal differential was staggering. Argentina should have won that match 2-0, according to the nerd numbers. But Argentina went up 1-0 on a messy penalty and then almost went up 2-0. They actually had a goal taken off the board. And then it went into halftime 1-0. And Argentina probably felt like all was good. And it wasn't. Because the two goals that Saudi Arabia scored were insane. Like 1 in a million type goals. Like one of them was in the perfect. It was just one of those upsets you can't explain in sports. Not really much to add to it other than I lost a shitload of money on Argentina, and I'd like to move on from it.
And we are moving on. The Argentinians came in unbeaten in 36 matches. Upset that nobody expected heading into that one. Today, we have a lot to talk about with Monday Night Football, wrapping up Week 11. We have a stock report, NFL with our friend Sean Green. He's coming on, and then our 3-star play of the day and our best bet. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Let's move on from Argentina's loss. And let's bet it. Presented by Superbook Sports. Monday Night Football, the 49ers and the Cardinals down in Mexico City, all the way down there. And the 49ers came out on top 38-10. The Cardinals didn't look great. Kyler Murray didn't play, but ESPN still kind of took jabs at him anyways. Jimmy G, though, the most efficient game of his season, 20 of 29, 228 yards, 4 touchdowns. George Kittle walking in with the Pentagon Jr. mask that Pentagon Jr., or Penta as they like to call him, gave him 4 years ago. He's a famous wrestler down there. He was at the game. San Francisco, though, Jared, now number 6 in NFL power rankings. They played well.
Yeah, that was an ass kicking. Straight
Speaking
top
of
to
an
bottom.
ass kicking.
that was a beating. There's really not much else to say besides the Niners played about as well as you could ask considering the circumstances, which is, weird, travel, altitude, all of those things. And, Arizona actually started pretty well. The game, it was raining really hard to start the game. Arizona got a few first downs, took the lead very early, and the Niners started a little bit slowly. But once they kind of got into form, that was a beating. That was about as good of a stretch that I've seen the Niners play all year in terms of defensively. To be fair, though, Arizona's offensive line is in absolute shambles right now. So I had a feeling that was what I expected to see last week when they faced the Chargers. But the Chargers, as we've seen, have a little more starch to them than the Cardinals do. I think Arizona, to me, is a sell right now down the stretch. They didn't look like a very inspired unit last night. And I don't think they really are playing for their coach anymore. And I think that's a shame because you just saw it once the game started to get away from Arizona a little bit. That's when the toughness and the heart shows up because it's like, hey, we're pros. We're going to keep fighting. They just stopped fighting. And the Niners are just too big, too physical. And Trent Williams had a few blocks on the edge where he just looked like a man-child. That was peak Niners last night for about a 30-minute stretch in the middle of that game, second quarter, third quarter. That was about as good as they've looked. And we heard from some bookmakers, they're the best team in the NFC right now, power ratings wise. A favorite against everybody in the NFC on a neutral field. So there's your answer for who the best team right now, according to the odds makers, are in the conference.
Yeah, it is really crazy to see how good they looked. And speaking of, I know you could get in your car, you could turn on the seat heater. How hot is Cliff Kingsbury's seat right now? Can he even crank it as hot as it is at this point?
Could be pretty hot.
A little toasty.
I want to say McDaniel's seat is maybe a little hotter. Although, from what I hear, the money situation with Josh is pretty like they owe him so much that they're just can't fire him. And that was a nice
Yeah.
win for them on Sunday, albeit against the Broncos. I don't know how nice of it was considering who they beat, but they still did get a win. The Kingsbury situation's weird because they've got, it's Kyler Murray's, it's really Kyler's team, and he doesn't really feel like I don't really feel like he's part of the proceedings either. I wish you could ship them both out of town, but man, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. I'd be interested in seeing some odds on who the next coach fired will be. Maybe it's Kingsbury. I could see that. I could see that being the case.
Yeah.
I could see that.
We'll see what happens moving down the stretch. I mean, crazier things have happened, right? But yeah, good for the Raiders. Denver Broncos ended up waiving Melvin Gordon after that game. That was interesting. We're going to get all into that in Pickswise Playbook this week, so make sure to tune in. It'll be posted Wednesday, Thursday-ish. I don't know exactly what day, but make sure to tune into Pickswise Playbook. Let's get into the stock report, though, Jared, as we put a bow on Week 11. The Chiefs to win the Super Bowl at plus 450. They are now the co-favorites. That Sunday night performance was incroyable. They were down 4 with 1 minute and 46 seconds left to play, and Patrick Mahomes only needed 6 plays to get it done. He said, hey guys, hold my beer. I got this. They clinched a 7th straight AFC West title. He was 24-3 against AFC West opponents, which is incredible. And they have now won 25 straight games in November and December. This team's the real deal. Would you take them at plus 450 to win the Super Bowl?
Well, we have them at plus 800 already in our back pocket.
Ooh.
Because we were ahead of the market a few weeks ago in our futures column. So hopefully there's some loyal Pickswise readers currently watching the show that already have a Chiefs slice in their fridge waiting, like leftover pizza waiting to eat it the next day.
Which I don't know if I would bet it
today. Oh, cold pizza. I don't warm it up. I eat it right out of the box cold.
Undefeated. Yeah.
Absolutely. Kansas City is an interesting team right now because offensively, they're not as talented as they've been in years past. I mean, that's obvious. They're a little nicked up. Their offensive line's a little nicked up. Their defense is playing better, I think, than maybe the expectations. And it's kind of funny. They seem to do this every year. They seem to kind of bumble their way through the first couple of months. And then Spags figures it out. And they kind of scheme their way into a better stretch run. Defensively, they've been okay the last few weeks. They don't play bad games against the Chargers. How about this? They've never lost. Mahomes has never lost a road game in the division. That's just freaking wild.
Wow.
That is just insane. And I think if I had to make a bet right now, like if you're like, all right, Jared, you have a free roll on one team to win the Super Bowl right now, who would it be? I think it would be the Chiefs just because of Mahomes and because I think the defense is playing better, but the price doesn't really dictate to me, oh, that's flashing value. You need to bet that now because it's going to move significantly over the next 6 to 8 weeks. But if I had to pick a team to win the Super Bowl today, I think it's hard to bet against Mahomes based on what we're seeing.
Yeah, it was really incredible, his performance. And guess what? Loved it too, Jared. My fantasy team. I just had to throw that in there because
you're allowed one reference per show. That's okay. There's your one
reference per show,
you're
and that was
allowed
Patrick
one.
Mahomes.
It's when you do the Patrick 2 Mahomes and the 3.
Got me that bad. Got me the win this week. Let's go. And I'm still sitting under 500.
Big day.
I was down bad, and that got me back into it. We're close to 500.
Is this a pride league? Is there at least money on the line in this league?
Oh, of course
or is it just
money.
The pride?
We don't do pride over here, Jerry.
Listen, I don't know how you operate outside of this sphere.
Award. There's no such thing as a participation
Sometimes they
award.
do punishments. Like you have to get. I know my friend had to get like a tattoo one year, right? Like they do that stuff like that.
Wait, that's like an aggressive tattoo. That's an aggressive punishment. A tattoo? What?
I mean, he's a tattoo guy, and he agreed to it. And,
okay.
Like
not
it wasn't
just like hey,
a
I don't have any
forced
tattoos.
thing.
I'm gonna get a big tattoo on my bicep and just call it a day.
Yeah, it wasn't like a
you might
face
be
tattoo. Like I'm a loser tattooed across his
Oh
face.
my God,
Like it
seriously?
was tasteful and it was hidden.
You might be getting a tattoo of the Jets logo if they make the playoffs this year, because right now they're plus 120 to make the playoffs. Zach Wilson, though, and I'll let you get into this more because this is your team.
Oh
He
my
really
God.
struggled again. Like, you want to test a quarterback, put them up against a Bill Belichick defense, right? I mean, they struggled. Passing game produced a net of 44 yards, and the defense gave it everything that they had. Defense only surrendered 3 points for a majority of the game. Their defense is incredible. The way their offense is playing, I don't know necessarily if they're going to make it to the playoffs. It's impossible to win games with 2 net yards on 26 plays in the second half, 103 net yards overall. Unless the defense takes matters into their own hands, scores on their own, can they get there and score on teams when all the options are taken away? Because they took every option away from Zach Wilson. And then after the game, he was asked if he let down the defense, and he said no. He said no. I'll let you go on your rant,
on
though.
this.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I kind of went on a rant yesterday. He was my biggest loser of the week in our Overreaction Monday segment, so I did kind of voice my thoughts on it already, but you didn't get a chance to listen, so I'll rehash.
Please repeat yourself. Give me the
let's live in a world. Let's live in a world for a moment where Zach's watching the show. Like, he wakes up this morning and he's like, hey, I'm going to watch Let's Bet It on Pickswise presented by Superbook Sports because that's how I want to start.
It's the first thing everyone should do in the morning.
I don't know why they wouldn't want to see my bright and cheery face and you know, doing your thing. I mean, it's the best show on TV. So everything in life is a learning experience. I've had plenty of situations where someone's asked me a question or I've responded to something in a way that after the fact, I'm like, I wish I would have handled that a little differently. And he's a young kid. I think he's 24 years old. I said a lot of dumb shit when I was 24 too, especially right after a game where I just got my ass handed to me. Like, for example, if someone texted me right after that Argentina match today, yo, bro, nice pick, I probably would have said something similar to the course of Zach Wilson's, you know, idiot remarks about the way he played. And I think the most important thing that Zach should learn from this, what the hell do I know? The highest level quarterback that I played was in high school. But even in high school, when I played like shit, I had to answer to my teammates afterwards. And we were in the locker room, and I had to at least own the fact that I didn't play well. And I think that is the part about this that I'm the most concerned with. He hasn't faced a ton of adversity in his career. You know, he was the best player in his high school, and then he goes to BYU and, you know, best player on the team, and they didn't play in a major conference, and they didn't have a lot of adversity throughout the course of his college career. Then he comes into the NFL and he goes to the Jets in the biggest media market in the world, and he gets hurt right out of the gate. So he doesn't really understand, you know, what it's like to go through the ups and downs of a season. And he's had some success since he came back from injury this year. But if you're going to take credit for the wins and the quarterback is the one that gets the credit when the team wins, then you also have to take the blame when the team loses. Even if it's not fully your fault, that's the job of the quarterback. That's what it is. That's what the position is. You're the leader on the team. You're the general. So when the team wins, you get the credit, even though maybe not all is on you. And then when they lose, you also take the blame. So we'll see if Zach learns from this. I'm very fascinated to see how he comes out this week. But there's always a lesson in life, in everything. And I think he will learn from this because the New York media is going to eat him alive for this one. And I'm sure he'll hear about it from his inner circle. Hopefully his inner circle is strong here because this is one that could hurt you spiritually, emotionally, if you don't, you know, really take responsibility and accountability for how you play.
Speaking of taking responsibility and accountability, just quick tangent for a second. Did you see Lane Kiffin's tweet when someone said that he's going to be leaving Ole Miss to go to Auburn? And they said they haven't officially offered him the job yet, but it is happening. Story coming soon. And Lane Kiffin tweeted this guy's tweet and said, check your sources. That's news to me, blah, blah, blah. And then it became this whole thing. And then Lane Kiffin tweeted out or like printed out a press release and took a picture that the guy that tweeted it out originally was leaving for a different news station. And he said, they haven't offered him the job yet. Oh my gosh. If you haven't checked it out yet, go check Lane Kiffin's tweet because it's one of the most exciting things that's
Yes.
happening this morning / last night. Make sure to check it out. Anyways, before we
Pushed
bring
all
in
of his
Sean,
chips into the middle.
Yeah,
He better be staying at Ole Miss now.
I said the funniest part about it though is he actually printed out a sheet of paper with he typed that press release out on his computer.
Who has a printer?
Printed it out and took a photo.
Who the hell has a printer?
And you could see his arm shadow on the piece of paper. That was the best part about the whole thing.
I haven't had a printer in 5 years.
Oh, I know. It's whatever. I digress. One more before we bring Sean in. Bengals to win the AFC North right now at 4.5 to 1 odds. This is the second straight year that they were 5-4, coming out of their bye week and needing a road win. They lost 3 AFC North games already. This is their first AFC North win of the season. Joe Burrow looked phenomenal, and he's playing with no Jamar Chase. He lost Joe Mixon halfway through the game, targeted Higgins on the reg. The defense also looked really good in the second half. They limited them to 10 points after allowing 20 in the first half. I mean, could they win the AFC North at this point? 4.5 to 1 odds?
Ravens look good. The Ravens defense looks very different post trade deadline with their new buddy Roquan. I will add one thing on the Jets because I don't want to, as much as the rant matters, they're very live to make the playoffs right now.
I mean, yeah.
They really are. And the fact that that's plus money still, I think, is pretty interesting. And by the way, I don't know if you saw that coin flip, dude, with the guy that predicted all the Jets results with the coin flip.
Yes.
He's now 10.
Wild.
He's 10 for 10. 10 for 10.
It's wild.
And he has them losing. The magic coin has the Jets losing this week. So take that for what it is. Bengals to win the AFC North. I've got it at 3 to 1. I think it was 3.5 to 1. So I'm not adding to my position this week on that. I feel like Baltimore is the right team in the AFC North. I think they did enough in the trade deadline, and you just hope Lamar Jackson and the offense can figure it out. That rematch, I think, is the last week of the season. I could be wrong on that, though. Let me check right now. Nope, I'm right. Last week of the year in Cincinnati. Odds are that could be the deciding week. So if you want to bet the Bengals now at plus 450 to win the AFC North, you're making that bet hoping the last week is the deciding week, and obviously they will be significantly less. They could even be favored in that game, at home against Baltimore. So it's certainly a bet that has some upside, but Baltimore's schedule is very easy over the next 6 weeks. So I'm not banking on them losing a bunch. I mean, the Ravens play the Jaguars, the Browns, the Broncos, the Falcons, the Steelers twice before that game against Cincy. So where's Baltimore losing a game for the Bengals to make it up? I don't know. I mean, maybe they could, but since he's got a tough schedule too. So I would lay off that one and just hope, pray that, Cincy finds a way to make up some ground.
We'll continue with our stock report with Sean Green. Let's bring him on in. He's the co-host of Sports Gambling Podcast and co-founder of the SGP Network. Follow him on Twitter at Sean T. Green. Sean, S-E-A-N, not S-H-A-W-N, because there's multiple ways to spell it. Sean, how the heck are you? How are you? He's muted. Oh, now you're not muted. Let's do that again. How are you? Yes,
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing? Eagles are 9-1.
Doing well.
And I said that's really all that matters. So let's go.
I got my win total already, Sean. It's always great when we cash a win total in November, right?
Oh, yeah. I got to tweet that out because I had 8.5. That was 8.5 was like pre-AJ Brown trade. So, yes, I forgot. I got to tout that.
Yeah, let's break down the NFC, shall we? Or more likely the NFC East. Can all 4 teams at this point make the postseason? Because the Commanders right now to make the playoffs are at plus 135. And, they're one of the best stories in the NFL this season. I mean, look, right? They start the season 1-4. Daniel Snyder, Brian Robinson, Carson Wentz. Now they won 5 of the last 6. Can they make the playoffs in addition to the Giants, Cowboys, and Eagles, obviously?
It's amazing what your team can achieve once you get rid of Carson Wentz. It's very really, there's no ceiling on your potential as soon as you get rid of Carson Wentz. You have to have Carson Wentz for a little bit, but then once you get rid of him, you have untapped potential. It's great. I
It's
mean,
like
they really,
you got to have the sickness first to build up the
yeah.
antibodies,
That's
Sean.
actually
And then
hilarious. That is
and then you become
hilarious.
stronger.
No, it's it to me it still seems crazy. I know, like eye test, they look like a pretty good team, 6-5. They're scrappy with Heineke. I mean, they came into
Yeah.
Philly and knocked the Eagles out, so they fit the profile of a playoff team. There's so many division games left for the NFC East. It feels like one of these teams is going to kind of fall off the cliff. Could be the Giants, could be the Cowboys, or I don't know. Getting all three in just seems like such a huge ask. So I would say probably not, but certainly they all look like playoff teams right now.
Yeah, your co-host Ryan Kramer's not going to like this take too
No,
much,
he's
but I
gonna be
think
he's
it's
gonna be annoyed.
pretty obvious to me which is the odd team out in this mix. And I hate to say it because it's been a very special year for this Giants team, and I think they are building a culture that is going to, last a lot longer than just this season. But the talent, I think they're the least talented team in the division, hands down. Especially on offense. It's not even close.
Yeah, I mean, and kudos to Brian Dable. When we were looking for a head coach, there was a chance Dable was going to leave last year, and he's done a great job. I mean, now they just lost Wandale Robinson. Like, they literally have no offensive skill players. At some point, you have to be able to score points and
throw the ball down the field.
Yeah, just handing the ball off to Barkley and running with Danny Dimes, a.k.a. Vanilla Vic, as Barkley calls him.
Vanilla Vic's one of my favorite nicknames ever, by the way. I heard it for the first time last week. That is so good.
It's so good.
It just seems like they can only get so far. So that ride may be coming to an end for them.
Let's talk about Patrick Mahomes for a second, because that Sunday Night Football performance, which, by the way, them moving that Chiefs game to the Sunday Night Football game saved all of us football fans, which I'm really excited we got to see. But, I mean, 1 minute and 46 seconds left. You're down 4, and Patrick Mahomes said, "Hold my beer. I got this." Took 6 plays to do it. They end up getting the win. Did he wrap up the MVP with that performance, or do you think there's still the jury out right now?
Yeah, 100%. Don't even play the games. No way Jalen Hurts pulls it out. Here's what I would say. Yeah, obviously, he was my preseason. This is why it's annoying, because he was I gave him out MVP at I think it was like plus 950 to begin the season. He was my preseason pick. So he's obviously been looking great. I think what Hurts has going for him as far as potential to knock Patrick Mahomes off is, one, narrative. They do like giving it to someone new, so not giving it to Patrick Mahomes every year. Josh Allen, who I thought was going to be Mahomes' biggest competition, he seems to have fallen off a little bit. And Hurts, you want to talk about those primetime games getting flexed out? There's a big Eagles-Dallas game. There's 2 games against the Giants. If you know any TV executives, they're going to do everything they can to bump that into Sunday night. So if he can have a couple big games on prime time, I think he's got a fighting chance. But yeah, it's certainly Patrick Mahomes MVP to lose right now.
What about Tua?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, Tua certainly deserves to be in the mix. Whatever it is, I think it's maybe just some left-handed bias. Like, just watching Tua, you go, it just doesn't look like it should work. But he has been balling out of control. Maybe I think the fact that he has Tyreek Hill is kind of hurting him, but he certainly deserves a ton of recognition. Like, the team is playing so much better this year, and the offense in particular. I mean, Mike McDaniel definitely deserves consideration for Coach of the Year, and Coach of the Year actually is a pretty crazy race this year. It's actually one of the more interesting award races, because you got Mike McDaniel. You can make a great case. You got, again, Nick Sirianni. Eagles have only lost 1 game. I mean, you got Brian Dable dragging the Giants out of the grave. There's just a bunch of coaches. I mean, even Pete Carroll, I think, deserves consideration, especially if the Seahawks win the NFC West with Geno Smith. He definitely deserves Coach of the Year. So there's like 10 coaches you could give Coach of the Year to right now.
Fascinating stuff. Good game, too, this week. I mean, I know it's not as good of a game as maybe it was 6 weeks ago, Eagles-Packers, but I want to go back to this game because I really think the defense for Philly with Joseph and Sue. They graded out two of the top 4 PFF grades of the week for the Eagles defender. Like that to me, coming in sight unseen and getting those two guys to have, two of the best games of any Eagles defenders of the entire week, it changes the way that I think you guys can kind of handle the running game, which is what Green Bay wants to do. So I would expect Philly to obviously win this game, but does your expectations change at all long-term now that you get those two guys up front that you think can maybe stop the run?
Mhm.
And especially what we're seeing this year, stopping the run in the NFL is huge.
Yeah, I mean, that did seem like our most obvious weakness was teams were able to run on us. And going into that Colts game, I was worried about Jonathan Taylor going off on us. And he did that first drive. And then after that, to your point, Sue and Linval Joseph like really seemed to bulk up that defensive line. I was shocked that they were able to come in, literally off the couch and be an addition to that defense. So it's huge. And then hopefully we should be getting Jordan Davis back, who's that, that first round pick from Georgia, who's again a guy weighs over 300 pounds, super athletic, can help clog up the middle. And our defense is weird. If you talk to any other Eagles fans, we immediately want to fire Jonathan Gannon, but then you look at like the points allowed and turnovers created, they're like historic levels. There's just something about the eye test and the way he plays defense that I think is super frustrating. Like he'll have Hassan Reddick or Josh Sweat randomly dropping back in pass coverage, which if you want to upset an Eagles fan, just bring that up. What are you doing? He rushes the passer. But I do think signing those guys and the impact they had, I don't know if they win that Colts game without them. So that's crazy. And I do think that helps seal them up long-term, because you look at the San Francisco 49ers, who you want to talk about teams that might be able to knock off the Eagles in the playoffs. 49ers are a tough matchup, and they can really smash you in the mouth with the run game, and adding Christian McCaffrey is huge. So anything you can do to slow down the run this year, to your point, is huge, and having those guys is a nice boost.
Yeah, I know. Your GM went out, literally saw that weakness. I mean, you see the weakness week after week after week. But after that Commanders game, he's like, nope, no more. We're not doing this. Let's go sign some guys. Let's fix the one leaky hole that we have, and the boat's still afloat right now. Let's talk about the Vikings one more time before we let you go, because right now they're 8-2, but I mean, they got their ass handed to them this weekend. I mean, I think CBS like turned off that game halfway through the third quarter. They switched to another game because they're like, no one wants to watch this right now. And Jared and I talked earlier in the week. We're like, this team is due for regression. They're due for like that loss. Like the Eagles had that loss against the Commanders. The Vikings needed that loss, and they got it. But are they fraudulent? Or is this just a spot where, hey, maybe they didn't play very well. The Cowboys were extra hungry after losing the week before, and they're going to bounce back?
Well, I'm still waiting for the Kirk Cousins chain video. I thought they put one out after every game. that one must have got lost in the internet.
Kirko Thuggins took a week off, Sean. Took a week off.
I guess it's only for road games, because then they're on the plane.
Yeah, right.
That would be great if they still went on the plane to celebrate. No,
that's a winner's chain. Only winners get chains.
I did see someone Photoshop an L chain onto him, which was pretty fun.
The internet is undefeated.
The internet's always undefeated.
So the Vikings have a -2 point differential. That's the first time that's ever happened with an 8-2 team. So they certainly were due for regression. I think anyone who looks at the advanced numbers, or just like even some of the regular numbers, are like, this is not sustainable. So I think if you're a Vikings fan or a Vikings backer, you talk yourself into the idea of like, okay, all of our regression was just in that Dallas game. Now we have a get-right opportunity. The problem is it's Kirk Cousins in prime time against a very stingy Patriots defense. So I think that's what you're scared about. What they have going for them, though, is that they have such a comical lead in the NFC North. They can afford to lose a couple games. Where it really hurt them, obviously, is making a run at the number 1 seed, because they lost head-to-head against the Eagles, and now they're a game behind as well. So that's really where it crushed them. But again, like they're gonna win the NFC North. It's just gonna be, what can they do in the playoffs? They're a tough out at home. I will say that. I don't think they can go on the road and win in cold weather. I would highly bet against, I'm going to load up against that possibility. But them at home, round 1, round 2 in the playoffs, I think they're going to be a tough out still.
I know.
Yeah, I think
going up against
that loss was better for Philly than anything else to get, for the Eagles to get home field. I mean, that's a big, to me, that's huge for the Eagles to be an outdoor team and to get home field, and for the Vikings to be an indoor team and to have to go back on the road. You guys have a lot of history too, didn't you? When you guys won the Super Bowl, you beat them in the NFC Championship game 2 at home. So
oh yeah,
a lot of history between those two teams in the playoffs.
38-7. Come on.
Oh yeah.
But who's talking about that nowadays?
Who even remembers that game?
Who even remembers that? No, but I will say they're going up against the Patriots defense, which, Jared, how did that go for your team this weekend? 2 net yards on 26 plays in the second half?
Not great, Bob.
Yeah.
Not great, Bob.
You hate to see it. Sean, we so appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much. Go Eagles. And honestly, I work for the Atlanta Hawks too, and DeAndre Hunter, one of our players on the team, Philly guy, big Philly sports fan. And it was after the Commanders-Eagles game, and he walked into the post-game press conference room because we had just beaten the Bucks. And I go, sorry about your Eagles. He goes, no, I wanted them to lose. He goes, there's only been one undefeated team that's won the Super Bowl. He goes, this is good. This is perfect. Like, he was like pumped about it. Is that how you felt when they lost that game?
Didn't A.J. Brown say something like that too? Like,
yeah,
I think one of the guys was like, yeah, let's get this loss out of the way now.
The pressure's off. Yeah, I mean, considering the amount of money I lost in the game, I wouldn't say I was thrilled. But yeah, I definitely sold myself that narrative the following morning.
Yeah.
Like, it's a good loss. Yeah, take my.
That's how I feel about Argentina today. Yeah, that's a good chunk right out of the bankroll. It's fine.
It's a healthy loss. It's a growing loss.
Healthy loss.
It's a growing loss. Lick your wounds. You get back up and you get a win the next week. Sean, we so appreciate you. Best of luck with your bets this week. I'm sure we'll be talking to you soon.
All right, take it easy. Thanks, guys.
Great job, Sean.
Peace. That is
Sports
Sean
Gambling
Green,
Podcast,
co-host of Sports Gambling Podcast and co-founder of the SGP Network. Find him on Twitter at Sean
Legendary stuff.
Green, the legendary man. Before we get into our best bets, Jared, let's talk about Superbook Sports. Let's bet it. Presented by our friends at Superbook Sports. Make sure to pile up the wins and you pile up the money with Superbook. Right now, the best betting app from Las Vegas is giving you free money every week. You make a bet. Just place a $50 bet each week with Superbook, and they'll give you a $5 bonus, up to $50 for betting each week afterwards. If you're in Arizona, Colorado, Iowa, Nevada, New Jersey, Tennessee, download the Superbook app or visit superbook.com to get your streak started today. Superbook.com to Pickswise.com. 3-star play. Hit me with it.
Yeah, we got some soccer on the site, or football.
Ooh.
However you want to, whatever your fancy is. France, Australia later today. Joe Casey wants you to bet on Olivier Giroud in some capacity. I'll let you handle the rest. We've got NBA, Hermantis Nita, Nuggets, Pistons. Your Pistons actually, those are both of your teams. Denver and Detroit playing each other tonight.
Mm-hmm.
So that's very fun. Go check that out. And then we got some footy on the site for this week, and not the soccer variety, the actual American football variety. We do have a pick from Keith Schmelter on the Patriots-Vikings game. That's already up, and I love it because it matches all my trends. By the way, guys, make sure you tune in to Pickswise Playbook this week. I have like a buffet's worth of Thanksgiving Day trends. Thanksgiving Day is one of my favorite days to bet the NFL. I usually do like a turkey trot 10-point teaser just for funsies. And then obviously it's like one of my favorite. This is one of my favorite football weeks of the year, actually. And also sports because of college basketball. And we get now World Cup. So get on board this week. And there's going to be a lot of ups and downs. Listen, I have people in my mentions this morning that are literally calling for my job because I gave out Argentina today. Everybody needs to relax and enjoy the highs and lows of betting on soccer. Yesterday, we hit a plus 210 on USA Wales. And now today, people are mad because I lost on Argentina. Like, you really can't please people in this business. But enjoy the ups and downs of what is one of the best sports betting weeks of the year. Don't mention, don't go too high on the wins and too low on the losses, and everything will be great.
Yeah, totally. I mean, if you did bet Lions money line the last 3 weeks, you are very profitable. Just saying.
I've got some great Lions trends for you this week.
Not saying that I recommend to do it against the Buffalo Bills because now they're playing for the second
Why
straight
not?
week in Detroit. Did they even leave? Did the Bills leave and go home and then come back, or
Yes,
did they stay in
which
Detroit?
we're going to talk about it on the show tomorrow. I don't understand why they left. I
Honestly.
do understand why they left, because let's be honest, who wants to be in Detroit for 4 days?
Okay,
I'm
it's a better
sorry.
get him out of here. We
I
need to
had to
end this
say
show.
it.
I'm saying my best bet of the day. It's the Rangers. Kings under 6. Anytime Igor Shesterkin is between the pipes, I'm taking the under 6. He's 9-2-3 on the season, 917 save percentage, 2.34 goals against average, and his last 4 starts is where this dude has really cranked it up. 3-0-1 with a 935 save percentage and a 1.73 goals against average. He also has LA's number. He's won in his 2 career starts against them with a 962 save percentage against the LA Kings, and the Kings are the better team right now. They've been playing really well this season. They have like 11 wins on the season. Jonathan Quick hasn't necessarily been really good for them, but LA's defense has been playing pretty solid. But you look at Jonathan Quick, and I'm kind of here banking on the fact that he's played really well against the Rangers. I haven't really seen much this season. He's been average this season. Like, he's been 500 guy, whatever. But he's 3-1-1 with a 927 save percentage against the Rangers in his career. And the under is always a good play when Igor Shesterkin is between the pipes. The under has gone 4-1 in New York's last 5 road games. The under is 5-2 in LA's last 7 games in total. And LA has been allowing 3.38 goals per game this year, but their last 3 games have been 5 goals or less. So I feel a trend kind of developing. Their defense is playing better together. And Igor Shesterkin, need I say more? I'm taking the under in this game. And one of the 2 hockey games of the day. And I must say, I got back with What the Puck yesterday. I went 3 for 3 on my What the Puck bets. Avs money line, Nathan McKinnon over 5 shots on goal, and Bruins money line. So feeling pretty good about the hockey scene right now heading into tonight. Fingers crossed if this under hits. Yeah, gotta love the ice. How about you? Who do you got for your best bet of the day?
Yeah, I'll be honest, I didn't love the college basketball slate today, although there's a lot of good games. Didn't see a ton of, oh my God, I really need to bet this. Although one game is piquing my interest a little bit, and it's Rutgers taking on Rider. This is the battle for New Jersey. Fun fact, I've actually called games at both of these schools during my time living in New Jersey. But that has nothing to do with this handicap. So Rutgers, in my opinion, is a top 10 defensive team in the country. The numbers say they're in the top 15 right now in Ken Palm's adjusted defensive efficiency ratings. They are coming off a 6-point loss to Temple, which isn't a great loss considering Temple's kind of had their struggles too. They lost to Wagner, they lost to Vanderbilt, although both of those games went to overtime. Temple did beat Villanova, which, Villanova struggled a little bit. So say what you want about the Rutgers loss to Temple, but I do like the fact that they're coming off of a loss. And I trust Steve Peichel. I think he's one of the better head coaches in the country that we don't talk about a whole lot. And this Rider team is just really bad. They've lost so far 3 of their first 4. Their only win was against the College of New Jersey, which is not even a Division I school. They are coming off a 5-point loss to Central Arkansas, who is ranked 317 in Ken Palm's ratings. So it's fair to say that Rider's not good. And I think Rutgers, with their defense, is, again, one of the better teams in the country that we don't really talk about because they're not sexy. They do it on one side of the floor, not the other. This is a team that beat Columbia 75-35 earlier this season. I think that could be kind of the scoreline in this game today. I like the fact that they're coming off a loss in a game that now is a rivalry game, and you want to call it a rivalry. It's not really a rivalry, but these 2 schools are separated by about, I want to say, 50 miles of New Jersey Turnpike. So there's definitely going to be some interesting, familiarity. And Clifford Amaruyi, who's the big man on Rutgers, is just a complete space eater. There is so much size and so much athleticism defensively for this Rutgers team. I just don't see how Rider's going to score much. And I know it's tough to ask an offensive or defensive-minded team like Rutgers to cover a big number like this, but I think their defense is going to feed their offense in this game. I think they're going to get a lot of easy buckets, and I think they absolutely have the size advantage and the athleticism advantage. So I will lay 15 with the Scarlet Knights. And don't look now, but I'm on a little bit of a heater with college hoops. We went 2-0 yesterday, and so we'll see. you know, the Argentina loss this morning definitely stings. Denmark's loss stings even more. But you know what? Soccer is in its own separate entity. College basketball, to me, is going to be a big focus for us over the next few weeks as we get into Feast Week and these tournaments. So let's keep the momentum going, and let's lay 15 with Rutgers tonight against Rider.
Let's roll that momentum, baby, into the end of our show. That's it for us today, guys. Find us on the Pickswise YouTube channel. Go to pickswise.com. Follow us on Twitter. Jared Smith, Lauren Jabara. See you guys tomorrow. Let's get it. Let's bet it.